So old business, district reconfiguration. Who's up?
Well, Kelly is up first. Mr. Henshaw will do a construction update, and then we'll have Mrs. Brown talk about early childhood, and then I have just some brief comments about transition because we're entering into, as we said earlier, we're calling it Transitions Boot Camp. We're going to have a meeting next
We're about to fall off the edge with that gold arrow there.
Yeah.
This is just a reminder of the timeline, and we have moved a long ways. What's a little deceptive is there's a whole lot in that last box. So maybe that box ought to cover the entire screen right now.
Break that up.
These are the planning teams, just a reminder, and as Dr. Zalis mentioned, we'll hear about construction and early childhood tonight. The construction update, just wanted to run through some pictures if you haven't had a chance to go by. As you recall, we started on the north side of the project and we're moving to the south, so this is the south view, and you can see the work that's going on. Sidewalks, exterior overhangs, those type of things are happening. This is on the west side of the building with the new concrete sidewalks coming in. That would be the main entrance. The main office is there where the windows and door, you would go through that to get to the main office. This is just some interior pictures. This is the lecture room. Actually, this picture was taken, after this picture was taken, sheetrock's up on the soffits now, and these guys were installing lighting at the time. This is the mechanical room, which is where quite a bit of the money is, and the new boiler system, and it's coming along quite well. This is closer to the north side of the building. If you recall, we're moving along in stages, so dry erase boards are on the wall, and, wow. and this room has the new lighting already in it. That's motion activated, and the grid's in for the ceiling tile, and so we're about ready to clean this room out and start laying floor tile. Cool. This is the wrestling room from the entrance into that room, and so this is the furthest room north, and it's basically finished. Those are our new mats that are stored there for now. So that's what you're seeing. I also wanted to give you an update. We discussed the drainage issue up here on Cedar and 8th.
Yes.
And the city, I talked to Steve yesterday. His intent, they will start this work spring break. It's going to work into their schedule. So we have a joint venture with the city. They're going to redo this corner. We paid for the drain pipe that's coming up the hill, and they're going to tie the drains into that, because if you recall, I said Cedar doesn't have any storm drain system on that street, so the city's agreed to cover the cost of the intersection, so we pulled that out of the general contractor's,
good.
And we got a credit for that already, and so they'll just tie into where the contractor stopped the pipe.
So will that shut down the whole intersection there, or?
It'll be shut down that week of spring break.
Okay.
Steve believes that, and obviously the weather dictates a lot of things, but Steve felt that they could have it back open for use when school kicks back in. My email to him back and forth yesterday, he was like, we're going to finish a project in about 2 weeks, and I was like, that's perfect. How about this? And he jumped on it.
So keep your fingers crossed. We have good weather.
Sure. And, we'll do our best. Dr. Pritchett, when I talked to him, he said, if that's not open, he said, we'll get back on the roof and do another video, and we'll have people. He goes, it's okay. We've got school messenger, and really parents have been great. This was not a traffic issue at all, even the first week of school. People really have done a wonderful job in our community to work together to make it safe.
And our PD's helped us.
Yeah, police department, everybody's been very helpful. So we want to continue that, but obviously there'll be some inconvenience maybe, or something's different. So we'd ask the community, if you drive in this area, to pay attention, to continue to pay attention. All right.
Great.
Mrs. Brown, I believe.
About time for us to go on the tour.
I'm going tomorrow at 8.
All right.
Now, Keith has asked me, I am going to meet him at 8 o'clock in the morning. If anybody else wants to join me on a tour, we're going to meet in the lower parking lot down the attendant's office, right
Get our
inside
hard
that lobby.
get our hard hats and go.
And
Okay.
we'll
I'm gonna
go.
be there.
I believe Dr. Pritchett's taking the faculty tomorrow at noon, the high school faculty. And you've already been.
I've been in there. I haven't been in there a while, but it's
But we'll take you
looking
again.
pretty cool.
Where are you meeting at 8?
The
The
attendance
lower
office.
parking lot, attendance office where Dr. Herman's office is, or Dr. Pritchett this year. So, right inside those lobby doors. We'll just meet right there, 8 o'clock in the morning. And if you can't make that one, I'll take you anytime.
You're up.
Hi, Laura.
Hello, hello. Okay, good news in the world of pups, which is kind of always good news in the world, and as long as I'm around and dealing with them, so that's great. But I have real live numbers for you tonight.
Hooray.
These are families that have been contacted and have committed. So obviously between now and August is a big change, and I look for numbers to change a lot in and out, and that's okay. But these families have all been called with a really mad game of phone tag. So today is day 10, and I have 3 families that I have not been able to make contact with yet. But we're close. We're getting there. So tonight I just kind of wanted to give you numbers live with buildings. I kind of live this every day, and I thought maybe I would kind of share that life with you a little bit. So I learned some great technology tricks at our training earlier in the week, and so I had to use those tonight too. It was all a good time. So at Mark Twain, next year, coming in August, in the morning session, we have 8 students currently enrolled. 7 of those have had no current preschool. 9 in the afternoon session. 6 of those do not have preschool, and 2 of those are Head Start. 1 teacher and 1 para for that classroom. Moving to Truman, we have 8 in our morning session right now. 4 of those without current preschool, 3 Head Start. In the afternoon, 7 enrolled, 4 with no current preschool, still 1 teacher and 1 para there. And then Wyman has its own.
Laura,
Yes,
going back,
sure.
all of those students that you list at those buildings, they are actually residents of those 2 elementary zones.
They are,
Correct? And
yes.
so they're attending the same school that they'll
That they will attend in.
value.
We've had a really great play on numbers this year. Things have just worked out really, really well. So priority was, Delinda worked with me to get school zones on these kids so I could find out what school zone they were in. And I just kind of put those in to buildings to see what would happen, and it fit perfectly. So that was my main goal, just if we might as well have some prior knowledge with a familiar building for half day before we're there full day for kindergarten. So yes, they are in their home zone.
Some of them probably have siblings at those schools.
Right.
As well.
And that's been the biggest excitement on the other end of the phone is, hooray, he can go with his brother, she can go with, and so I've had mamas cry with joy. I had one dad come up to see me after I called him to let him know because he just wanted to really make sure it was true. And so it's been a really good game of phone tag. It's all been positive on the other end. So then we have Wyman. Up at the top is their pre-K classroom. 8 are enrolled right now in the morning session. 7 of those don't have current preschool. 1 of those is enrolled in Head Start. All of these Head Start kids are also half day right now, so none of these kids are in the full day program with Head Start. In the afternoon, 8 are enrolled in that class, 5 don't have preschool, and 1 is enrolled in Head Start. 1 teacher and 1 para for that classroom as well.
So those are 10 max.
I'm sorry.
Max 10.
Max 10, yes. And so you see that there are openings in both, all 3 buildings. We do have positions open. I have 3 screenings that I've scheduled this week with families that have called. 2 are brand new to our district. 1, they've just battled a lot of illness, and so we're just now getting caught up. If you know of families that are interested and think they've missed the deadline, send them my way. I'm happy to screen them and get them in our count. So we look for some additions soon, and then I think in August we will see that some of these numbers have kind of fluctuated, and we'll add waiting list kids in at that point as well.
So Laura, just to be, for myself to be clear,
Sure.
and for anybody who might be listening, when you say they're also part of Head Start, does that mean that the other half of the day they'll go to Head Start?
They could, yes,
They could.
absolutely, they can if they choose to.
right.
That is one of our transportation options.
Very good. Thank you.
And I've partnered with them, and we have a really good plan as far as getting them on the opposite schedule as us. So,
Good.
so
Great.
yes, I think families are very excited about that. And then if you look down at the bottom, that is our peer program, all which is at Wyman. More kids at Wyman, but I did want to kind of separate those out for you. So we will have 5 peer classrooms. Those numbers that you see there are numbers of enrolled students as of right now. The families that I'm trying to play phone tag with will fit into that number. So I look for those to grow just a little bit. So far, I have asked family preference on morning and afternoon. That's another one of those really lucky number things that's worked. I have been able to plug everybody into their preference, and it has worked so far. So we also will have 2 classrooms, as you can see there, at Wyman that will not have our peer program, and those are our children with the highest needs. And so overall at Wyman, we're going to have 8 classrooms. 7 of those will be ECSE, and 1 of those will just be our pre-K classroom. So all together right now, committed to our program are 48 of our pre-K kids, 52 peers. We will continue to add to that number. Like I said, if you know of anyone, even if you know somewhere I need to go visit, I am happy to do home visits. I've done a lot of those and really enjoy that. So if you know somewhere you want me to go, give me a call and I'll take off. Also, one of the things that I intended to talk to you about last time, but I didn't, and then I thought about it like 2 minutes down the road and called Mr. Hounsome and said, sorry, forgot. This is one thing I want to talk about. Our curriculum. You approved it on the consent agenda last time, which would have been a great time for me to talk to you about it, but I get all excited about these numbers and forget about the other things that are going on. We kind of have a really cool opportunity with our curriculum training this year. We've chosen the ELK curriculum, Emerging Language and Literacy curriculum. It was actually designed by 2 speech and language pathologists out of Kansas City, and so very much will be geared to all preschool children. But we are going to get to house the training here, actually right here in this room, and we have invited other school districts that are using this curriculum to come to our training. So that number continues to grow. We were at 6. As soon as I sent Mr. Hounsome the number 6, 7 came, and 8 has now came to join us today. So along with learning a brand new curriculum for our staff, we'll kind of get some really good collaboration between other preschool teachers. We have them coming from all over. So
When is that going to take place?
that is going to be May 30th, 31st, and June 1st. So we're going to do that a week before after school, before summer school. And there's a lot of room set up and things like that as part of that curriculum. And we kind of talked with our current preschool teachers, and they said, yes, let's learn the curriculum so we can set our classrooms up accordingly. So I think they're very excited.
And our goal will be to hire these new positions so they can attend
So
this
they can be
training
in the
as well.
training. That's great.
There is another training offered later in the summer, but we prefer, obviously, for them to get a head start as well. And obviously, it's a cost-effective method when we host it here.
Very good.
You have your challenge. Get those people
We're ready.
identified and hired.
We're ready.
More ready now than we were a little bit ago.
Yeah, we're
So-
more ready now than we were 10 minutes
Mr.
ago.
Henshaw and I are going to tour the buildings next week and make sure we know where everything's going to be, and then look at equipment. We're really hoping to use what is in the building that's going to be useful for us through the transitions, and kind of look through technology and work through what we need to build a quality preschool classroom in each building. So.
Fantastic.
Laura, could you reconnect us to the relationship with the existing preschools too?
Yes, I sure can. At screening, some of you may have seen that flyer going around. I have families that email it to me all the time and say, well, how do I get a hold of this one? And so next year I will add contact information onto that. Lots of notes to live and learn. But our private providers are super excited, and I'm excited about that. We've kind of worked with them all along. They're getting calls now after I call. Families are calling them saying now, did you know that I'm going to need all day care on Wednesday? And since we have partnered all through, they say, absolutely, we were aware of that. So that's always a good thing. Transportation to those preschools seems to be set up. Loretta King in transportation, she and I talk on the phone a lot, trying to work out these details of the unknowns. I can't tell her numbers, and I always tell her I can make a really good guess, but I have no idea what they will look like. But our families are celebrating that. The private providers are calling me often with questions. We've been in and out of a lot of their facilities throughout the year. So I think that portion of it is going very well. And Head Start as well. We've done all of their screenings this year.
Is there the curriculum emerging?
Language and literacy curriculum.
Is there a parent component to that?
There is a parent component, yes. And it's it blends with what they call semester visits. Parent-teacher conferences is what it blends with.
Yeah.
And so it lays out very well with our school year.
Good.
So there's 22 themes, and they kind of flow very much in with the holidays. So all of that is kind of taken care of. And then there's a parent piece. There's even actually a volunteer piece to it. So if you have volunteers come in, this would be key things to do with the kids
wow,
for these
fantastic.
these themes.
I'll speak for
So-
Greg since he's not here, and he's
Sure.
always talking about parent engagement. So
Right, yes.
it's very important, especially catch them young, right?
Yes, for sure. Well, if we can get them in the door at preschool, then we can count on them all the way through. Any other questions for me?
Thank you.
Right, thank
Thanks,
you.
Laura.
You have a few closing
Well,
reconfig
I'll
words?
talk just transition in general. On March 20th, we have a meeting scheduled. You can tell we've done a lot of interface meetings with the elementary principals. Mr. Brown talked about going with Mr. Henshaw to identify specific rooms, and we worked through the first round of budget meetings this week with Mrs. Brown too. So on the 20th, we're bringing in the junior high, middle school, high school principal. That'll be Mr. Henshaw, Mr. Hounsome, Mrs. Gorman, and I, and we're calling it scheduling boot camp. We are having a full day. We're not interrupted, and we'll be in a room upstairs in 219 and put schedules up on the board. It's time for us to start looking at finalizing the course description book. You remember you approved. Kids have selected their courses. Ashley selected a little bit earlier than what we normally would. Now we know where our staffing needs are. Where we really need to nail down is where the specials or the exploratory courses are going to look like. There'll be people that are be going to multiple buildings. So the actual master schedule process, we're pushing up significantly earlier while we're still working through 16-17 school year, which has put a lot of stress on those areas. So we've joked about Norm in the meeting, but we anticipate some healthy discussion and possible disagreement, because there'll be some people during the transition that are going to be doing things different than what they've done before, and even open minds about flexibility of scheduling. We've come to the edge of that. Now we need to finish that, and so that'll be on the 20th, and it'll be good. It'll be good. They know what's coming, and they need some guidance, and we need to provide it. And so that'll be the last part of the transition. We're still working with parents and students of those buildings, particularly the middle school, where third and fourth graders are coming down. The other part's been pretty seamless, but that's happening at the same time. But we feel like we need to make sure by the time we get to next month and even a little bit past spring break and into later April, everybody knows exactly where they're going to be and what the schedule is going to look like as we work forward.
Thanks, Dr. Zales. Any other questions on reconfiguration?